Going into my junior year of college, I was ready to start over somewhere else. Although playing for Notre Dame might seem great, Marcus Freeman was fired after going 4-8 last season, and I was already considering leaving, but that sealed the deal for me because the new head coach wasn't willing to guarantee me the starting spot, and I wanted to win something in my final 2 years of college football. So after taking a long look at my incoming offers, I narrowed it down to Utah, Alabama, Baylor, and Florida. I really wanted to play for the Crimson Tide, but Nick Saban told me I'd be the backup there, so I decided to take my talents to Salt Lake City instead. I was ready to impress my new coach at my first practice, but unfortunately, I fumbled the ball away on one of my first runs of the day. Obviously, that was far from ideal, and I had to make sure I made up for it with breakaway runs like this, which secured Kyle Whittingham's trust in me. My first game for my new team was a rivalry matchup, and I almost broke off a huge run at the beginning. I was so excited to be playing in front of a new fan base, and I couldn't wait to see how the year went. My team scored the opening touchdown, and on top of that, I was finally becoming a tank that was very hard to bring down. Every time the Utah State defenders tried to tackle me, I shed one or two off before finally getting pulled to the ground, and I scared the opposing safety as I made my way into the end zone. I watched us take a 14-point lead before the half, and things would continue to go well for me in the third quarter as I kept picking up big gains. I scored my second touchdown of the night here, and behind my 186 total yards, we won the Battle of the Brothers. The following week, I had one of the best possible starts in our road game against Fresno State. I busted off this 52-yard run that would have gone to the house if I was just a little bit faster, but since I was exhausted after that, the backup took it in instead. I was also contributing on other parts of the field as I made an amazing block here for Devon Veal that got us a lot of extra yards, and I had found a new home that I loved in Utah. I was thrilled to have an offensive line that could actually block for me as they made it super easy to get into the end zone, and this run where I look like prime Marshawn Lynch put me over 100 rushing yards before the end of the first half. I had come a long way as a football player, and my newest goal was to make the NFL because I finally felt like I had the speed to play at that level one day. I still wasn't the fastest player on the field, but if I was, this would have definitely been taken all the way to the house. But for my size, I was exceeding expectations, and I almost topped 200 rushing yards in one game. I knew that playing at number 2 USC would be very tough, but my guys kinda own Caleb Williams, so I was pretty optimistic. However, the Trojans didn't seem to be messing around against us this time. With 3 minutes left in the half, we started finally moving the ball, and fortunately, that resulted in a much needed touchdown, but I could tell that my team's defense would struggle today, which made every drive more important than ever if we wanted to stay in it. I was becoming my team's #1 receiver the way I kept catching first down passes, but for some reason they kept me off the field on the goal line. Anyways, if we wanted to stay in it, we had to get a stop on third down, but Caleb Williams dotted us up, so we lost our first game of the season, and because of that, our next week of practices were not a good time. We had to prepare for another massive matchup, and if I couldn't get us past Michigan this week, there's no chance we'd make the college football playoffs. With 2 minutes left in the first half, I hadn't been able to do anything, so I had to watch the first score of the day from the sidelines. Fortunately, I got back out there and impressed, making multiple guys miss as I fought for a ton of extra yards, and I was doing everything that I could to get us in field goal range. This sideline catch with 14 seconds left in the quarter got us in the right position, so we went into the half up 10-7, and I felt like this game was going pretty well. I was repeatedly shoving the ball down the Wolverines' throats, and then I made a catch, threw a guy off of me, and walked it into the end zone. Surprisingly, for the second week in a row, even though I was the running back, I was my team's leading receiver, and I was becoming one of the most versatile weapons in the nation. So even though I didn't do the best job running the ball, I made sure we got the big win in front of our home fans with my 177 total yards. I continued to be my team's best receiver when we took on Oregon State, but after that catch, I couldn't get up as I had suffered a minor injury and I wouldn't get back in until midway through the second quarter. By then, my team hadn't been able to score yet as we were trailing the Beavers by 7, and by halftime we were down 13. So it was a good thing that I finally fought my way into the end zone and made sure that I caught as many yards as I possibly could. That put junior quarterback Jaquindon Jackson in the position to sling it 31 yards to give us the lead, and it was a good thing that we completed the comeback taking control control of the game because we couldn't have afforded to drop this one. Arizona State hasn't won a game yet this season, and this is why. Even though I wasn't the scorer here, I got the run with tight end Jeremy Rouse as he started the game with a 79-yard touchdown, and then with a few minutes left in the second quarter, the Sun Devils gave up another massive play. Again, I unfortunately wasn't the player pulling off these runs, but I was impressed with Jaquindon Jackson's speed here, and I finally got my moment at the end of the half. This game ended up being pretty boring to play in, so I was ready to get right into my next matchup against 2-5 Cal. I hadn't been putting up the best stats recently, and that was not good at all. Even though we kept winning, my draft stock was almost non-existent, so I needed to put up a miraculous performance, and that just wasn't happening. Fortunately, I could still catch passes, which helped, but I'm not sure if it would make up for almost no rushing yards and getting 0 goal line touches. At least I was the team's leading receiver, but the rest of the Pac-12 made it hard to win. I continued to upgrade my speed throughout the year, and if I wanted any chance of making the conference championship, we had to beat number 15 UCLA. I was enjoying being one of the faster guys on the field as I had worked so hard to improve upon that this season, but after I injured my knee on this play, I didn't get back in until the third quarter, and I made sure I still left my mark on this game even though we already had a large lead. I outran everybody on the field as I took this simple route 88 yards to the house, and then I scored another one here which secured our win over the Bruins. I was a semifinalist for the Doak Walker Award, which goes to the best running back in college football, so I needed to score a lot today, which is hard to do when I'm not out there. I really wish I got more goal line touches this year, but at least I was on a team that was good and that used me a lot. After this terrible throw from Jaquindon Jackson, I had to make a tackle, and I knew that this game would come down to the wire. I finally got the goal line touch that I asked for, but with 3 minutes left, I watched Oregon take a 3-point lead on us, so I knew I had to get my team into the end zone again if we were going to win. But after this bad throw, we were in trouble as we were forced to punt it, and we'd only get another chance if our defense could get a stop on third down, which they couldn't, so we lost our opportunity to make the Pac-12 championship. And since I averaged 2 yards per carry, this loss is mainly on me. So now, my only goals for the rest of the year are to potentially win an award and raise my draft stock, because I don't know if I'm going to return for my senior season. I'm currently projected to go sometime in the 6th or 7th round, and with how short running back careers normally are, I want to get into the league while I'm still healthy. It'll really just depend how these last 3 regular season games and the bowl game goes, because I don't know what I want to do yet. By midway through the third quarter, we were down by 12 until I took this short run in. However, after this throw from Jaquindon Jackson went straight to the Wildcats, not only was I probably going to lose the game, but I also lost my starting quarterback to injury. Yet somehow, all of that didn't end our chance of leaving with a win. With a little less than 2 minutes left, the backup threw a touchdown pass, and we could have come back if our defense didn't stink. I couldn't believe we lost to Arizona, especially after I scored 3 touchdowns, but I had to get us a win in the snow against Washington State to keep us in the top 25. And like most of the other games, I wasn't getting goal line touches, which really frustrated me because it gave me fewer scoring opportunities. And I didn't get it. Nobody was stopping a 7-footer on the 2-yard line, but what do I know? I'm just a player, so I kept my head down and I kept working to get us another victory, which would be harder to get since I couldn't hold on to this touchdown, and instead I watched us tied up. Fortunately though, my little mistake wouldn't matter in the end as we went into the fourth quarter up 14, and from there I would seal the game as I finally got those goal line runs and I put up a very respectable stat line. I was chasing after a school record, which was 15 rushing touchdowns in a season, and since I already had 12 this year, I only needed a few more. I got one pretty early in the game and it looked like I was going to get number 2 very soon, but instead I caught a touchdown which wouldn't count towards it. Luckily, I continued to destroy Colorado, and with the Deion Sanders experiment going terribly, I wouldn't play again after that because we were winning by too much. That concluded the regular season for us, where I led the team in both rushing and receiving, and I wish we could have won the Pac-12, but at least we made a bowl game. This could be the last time I ever step foot on a college football field and play for Utah as my draft stock kept moving up. I was now projected to be a late 4th round pick, and if I had a good performance today, it would be even higher. I knew that as a junior I could stay another year, but the risk of injury probably wasn't worth it, and I didn't want to lose my chance of playing in the NFL. I had already proven that I could be a versatile versatile playmaker, and now that I could run pretty fast, I didn't have very many weaknesses. It was hard to stop me on the goal line, and I could always pick up a few yards whenever needed. This ended up being my last touchdown of the season as I fought my way into the end zone, and I won the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl for Utah. I enjoyed my time as a Ute, but I needed to secure my future, so I was planning on entering the NFL draft. But then I got an NIL offer that made me question that decision, and now I'm asking you all, what should I do? Hopefully your input can help me come to a decision that I'll make December 23rd at 6 p.m. Eastern Time.